fucking thing. Eat it, 5. Just eat the gosh darn thing, okay? Eat the fucking fly, bro. 5. Eat the fucking fly, bro. Or the moth. Yeah, man. I'm live on my back. I might start doing this shit more often. Live on my back. Live on my back. Because, you know what? Right now, I don't have a bed up here on the second floor, so I decided just to put these cushions up here and lay down. There's some mattresses underneath this, but it's like they're fucking. I was gonna make a homemade mattress for my cot, but these things just don't work out right. So because they're for fucking little babies or something. But so I put this mattress on top. I bought them really cheap. I got like 3 of them for fucking $5. But I figured if anything, I'd make a dog bed out of them. But right now, this cushion here is huge. It's so big, I can lay down in it. So it's cool. I'm digging it. I'm listening to Rusty West.
Of this year, a 54-year-old Fresno woman vanished during her camping trip in the Sierra National Forest in California. Sandra Hughes embarked on a solo camping trip in the Sierras south of Yosemite, but never returned. The family last communicated with Sandra on the morning of the 26th, but after that, nothing. She was reported soon thereafter, where a long and intense search kicked off. Deputies and volunteers from the Madera County Sheriff's Office, the Kern County Sheriff's Department.
When you're sitting like this, you get a double chin when you're my age. It's only because I'm sitting like this. I guess I could pull it in like that, look all fucking cavalier, but yeah, when you're sitting down like with your head cocked like this shit will fucking just exaggerate itself.
Documents and personal information was also found near the area between Viasor and Minaret's Road. Officials state that the camp was disheveled, which raised some red flags. Those who knew her say she was trained in outdoor
what are you doing?
And would never leave a campsite.
You killed the damn thing yet?
She was also environmentally friendly. A few weeks after her disappearance, some hikers believed they may have spotted her walking barefoot with a facial.
Stop it. No.
Medical attention at the time when they offered it. After a month of rigorous searches, the search officially ended, and no other clues had surfaced to Sandra's whereabouts. Number 3. In September of 2016, 49-year-old former Marine went missing during his climb within the Maroon Bells Wilderness in Colorado. On September 19th, David Cook set out to climb both Pyramid Peak one day and then the Maroon Peaks the following day. When David failed to check in with his family as scheduled, he was reported missing soon thereafter, thus kicking off a large search and rescue effort. Search and rescue teams, including Alpine Rescue in Evergreen, Rocky Mountains Rescue from Boulder, the Vail Mountain Rescue Group, and Colorado Forensics Canines, joined efforts in the search for Chris. Aerial assistance was also called in to use FLIR technology as well, as additional search and rescue dogs from Garfield County and West Elk. Over 100 volunteers participated in the search, focusing on all areas where they believed Chris may have ventured into. When no clues surfaced, they expanded their search zone to include East Maroon Trail and other areas near Garbage Chute. The 2 peaks that David had planned to hike max out around 14,000 feet in elevation and are also given the nickname of the Deadly Bells after several lives have been claimed by the peaks over the years. However, David was a former Marine, and those who knew him say he was familiar with the area, having been there on other occasions. He also had a wealth of knowledge surviving in the backcountry wilderness. Number 2. On July 7th of 2020, a 10-year-old boy vanished while kayaking with his father within the North Cascades of Washington. Both Sage Adams and his father were on a camping trip and decided to kayak the Skagit River just east of Marble Mound. At one point, the river became rough, thus knocking the father into the river. His attempts to reach his son in the kayak failed, and he was forced to swim to the bank of the river. But by the time he reached it, both Sage and the kayak were out of sight. The father reported having to hike his way out of the woods to call for help. By the time he reached his campsite, several hours have already passed. Pierce County Sheriff's Office, resources from both the Navy and Coast Guard, Border and Customs, along with aerial and marine searches, joined efforts in the search effort. They were able to locate the kayak and Sage's life vest, but were unable to locate the boy himself. Secondary searches by canines and dive teams were also unsuccessful. After nearly a week of searches, it was called off altogether. Sage Adams has not been seen since. Number 1. On July 7th of this year, a 73-year-old woman went missing while visiting family in a remote area in Mountain Center, California. Rosario Garcia was last seen leaving her home in Hemet to visit a relative just 2 blocks away, but never arrived. Family soon became worried and contacted Palm Desert Station authorities to help locate her. 2 days later, her car was found abandoned by a hiker at the Sawmill Trailhead off Highway 74 in Mountain Center, about 40 miles east of Hemet. The car was found with the driver's side door ajar, but there was no sign of Rosario or her personal belongings. It was then a large search kicked off, including volunteers from the Riverside Mountain Rescue Department, Desert Search and Rescue, the local sheriff's office, and many volunteers. Bloodhounds and aviation teams also moved into the area, focusing their efforts on the Sawmill Trail and surrounding wilderness. Despite these efforts, she remains missing. Family stated that though she may have had some memory issues, she was always positive and knew the area well. It wouldn't venture very far for very long. She always carried her phone with her. Rosario was not the only person to go missing in that area, as several others have vanished within a relatively short time, leading some to speculate a serial killer may be involved. But no evidence supports this theory. Roy Profrigal, who was last seen hiking near Pine Cove, went missing on March 4th. And then on June 7th, Lydia Adams vanished during her hike in the Mountain Center, as well as Melissa Lane, who would disappear on June 15th. All these individuals were in good spirits, physically fit, and knew the area well prior to their disappearances. Again, authorities believe these cases are not connected in any way. But I think we can all agree that something odd is happening in the ID Wild, Palm Springs Desert and Mountain Center areas. If you want to learn more about these cases, and even some more disappearances that have occurred in that area over the years, I encourage you to look up the ID Wild disappearances. It's IDYLLWILD. And there you have it. As you can see, the majority of these cases have occurred in recent months. There's no doubt new information and updates will come forward in time. If you'd like to update us on any of these cases,
There's some more cases, I think. It's on the same video. I just started halfway through, so get to hear some more disappearances. I love this guy, Rusty West. He's pretty steadfast. He doesn't always provide, but every month or so he gets a new video out.
Every year, hikers and outdoor enthusiasts go missing in our state and national parks all over the country. While most of these folks are eventually located, others seem to vanish into thin air, and sometimes under the noses of others. Despite large search and rescue efforts, the mystery behind some of these disappearances continue to baffle many. Join me as I count down 10 more of the strangest state and national park missing person cases out there. Number 10. On July of this year, a 45-year-old Tucson hiker disappeared inside Madera Canyon in California. Jacob Wing went into the canyon with an old buddy of his, according to Santa Cruz County Sheriff's Office. A friend reported him missing around 10 a.m. on that Friday morning to the Pima County Sheriff's Department. Santa Cruz County took the lead when it was determined that Jacob had likely crossed into their jurisdiction. The following day, a large search and rescue effort was coordinated, involving rangers, border patrol, K-9 units, and dozens of volunteers. After several days and nights, the search was called off due to the total lack of clues and the harsh search conditions. The only evidence he was ever there was his car at the entrance to the canyon, which would eventually be towed.
Happens all the time when no one ever finds the bodies, blood, or trace of them. No trace.
Those who knew Jacob stated that he was in good spirits at the time he went missing, and therefore have no reason to believe he wanted to disappear. Number 9. In July of this year, a 61-year-old woman named Shirley Bauman disappeared while hiking to Lake Pleasant in Washington. According to family, the seasoned hiker had planned to use the Quartz Creek Trail from Middle Fork Road in North Bend and was last seen by other hikers near Quartz Creek. Search teams were called into the area where they would spend over 3,000 hours combing through the treacherous and heavily wooded terrain, including Snoqualmie River Middle Fork and every possible hiking trail in the region. Searchers were able to locate Shirley's car at an area trailhead, and canines followed her scent on a trail leading away from her campsite and lost it soon thereafter. On July 28th, ground searches were suspended and the aerial searches continued. Her hiking gear was left at the campsite, but no other clues have surfaced. To this day, this case remains a mystery. Number 8. On September 27th, 2010, a 39-year-old went missing with his dog during the hike inside the Windy Saddle area of Idaho. Todd Hofflander was hiking with his friend when they decided to separate and take different paths through Hell's Canyon to the Snake River. Both Todd and his black lab Ruby were never seen again. After searching the area, the friend eventually hiked back out to report Todd missing. Idaho County Search and Rescue coordinated an extensive search of Hell's Canyon and the surrounding wilderness, including several dozen search and rescue personnel, dog teams, aerial assistants, and volunteers. On the third day of the search, Ruby was found dehydrated on the opposite side of the Seven Devils mountain range from where Todd was last seen. Searchers attempted to encourage Ruby to help locate Todd with no success. Todd was an experienced hiker and sufficiently prepared for the overnight trip. Months later, human remains were found several miles away from Hell's Canyon in a heavily wooded area, but these remains did not match. To this day, Todd's whereabouts remains a mystery. Number 7. In August of 2020, a 25-year-old hiker went missing inside Tonto National Forest in Arizona. On August 5th, Cayman Welch was last seen walking southeast from the parking area at Weaver's Needle Vista Point near State Route 88 in the forest, according to the Maricopa County Sheriff's Office. Welch had told family members he wanted to get a better view of the sunset and walked on the trail towards Weaver's Needle, but failed to return after sunset. Those who knew him stated that he was an avid outdoorsman, but did not plan being out there for very long. Dozens of search crews, including park rangers, Maricopa County Sheriff's personnel, K-9 units, and volunteers, combed the area, but have found little to no clues to Welch's whereabouts. As of September 2020, he remains missing. Number 6. On May 19th of 1998, a 22-year-old hiker disappeared.
Okay, we already saw this one. Anyway, so Trippy, I don't know. I listen to him all the time. Whenever he comes up with new shit, here's another one that's good. Criminally listed. This guy sounds like a junkie, but he manages to narrate sounding like a junkie, and he's got a shitload of subscribers. But he does a good job talking about these guys. Let's just go part way through this one because he takes a long time with his videos. Let me go through this commercial real quick. Yeah, I'm just gonna quarter through the shit.
Was openly bisexual.
Uh-oh.
Detweiler was a deeply religious man, and he struggled with his sexuality.
Uh-oh.
5 years after they first met, in the summer of 1987, Detweiler was living a lonely existence. He was single, and he was living in an apartment with Lutz. Detweiler,
they were eating each other's dingleberries. Just kidding.
Pianos. Detweiler never really went out much, and he didn't have much of a social life.
Who the fuck has a name Detweiler? That's his name. The guy's name was Detweiler. Look, see, my teeth do look cleaner in here. Outdoors, for some reason, they look yellow. You can tell they're white. They're white teeth, man. I got white fucking teeth in here. At least this lighting in here does me it shows my teeth aren't fucking yellow, okay? All right, anyway. Detweiler, yeah, oh yeah. Go into a casino and put that on your promotional card. Detweiler.
He went to work, he would go out for walks by himself, and sometimes he would go to a local McDonald's where he would talk to people about God.
Uh-oh, Bible thumper warning.
On the night of July 24th, 1987, David Lutz went out to a bar. At 3 a.m., he was heading home. He was walking with a friend. As they were walking, they encountered a teenage boy who asked Lutz for a match. Lutz started talking to the young man, who said his name was Mike. Lutz invited Mike back to the apartment that he shared with Detweiler.
Gross.
He told Mike that they had an expensive stereo system and a lot of money in the apartment.
Yeah.
Mike started walking back to the apartment with Lutz. But when they were about a block from the apartment building, Mike decided he didn't want to go to the apartment. Lutz thought that Mike seemed like a nice guy, so he gave him his address. They split up, and Lutz went home alone. The next night, Lutz went out again. He returned to his apartment building at about 3:30 a.m. When he got to the door of his apartment, he immediately saw that something was wrong. The door had been kicked in. Lutz then got inside the apartment. What he found was a scene from a horror movie. The dead body of 41-year-old Stanley Detweiler was on the floor of the living room. He had been decapitated. On one of the walls, someone had written LSD in blood. They had also written Red Rum, which is murder spelled backward. Redum was also written on one of the walls, and it's thought that the killer misspelled Red Rum. The police noted that the character Danny wrote Red Rum on a door in the movie The Shining, which is based on the Stephen King book of the same name. The Shining had just been broadcast on television a few days before the murder. The police found Detweiler's wallet in one of his pockets, so they did not think that robbery was the motive. Instead, they thought that he might have been killed because he was involved in a love triangle. The police first suspected that David Lutz.
No, he found out there was two faggots trying to get up his anus, and he fucking killed them. That's what happened.
Was the killer. But he denied killing Detweiler, and he took a polygraph exam, which he passed. Lutz then told the police about the encounter he had with a young man named Mike about 24 hours before he found Detweiler's dead body. The problem was that Lutz didn't know Mike's last name. But it turned out that when he met Mike, he was with a friend, and the friend knew Mike. He told the police that the young man was 16-year-old Michael Bootlin. On July 29th, the police arrested Bootlin. Bootlin told them he knew who killed Detweiler. It was his 22-year-old friend, John Calavarese. Calavarese was arrested later that same day. Both Bootlin and Calavarese were charged with first-degree murder. In March 1980,
But mentally
the
ill.
next month, he was sentenced to life in prison. Bootlin went to trial in August 1988. Despite being 16 at the time of the murder, he was being tried as an adult. Bootlin's defense was that he didn't commit the actual murder and he was just an unwitting accomplice. He had no idea that Calavarese was going to kill Detweiler. In fact, he thought that the murder was unnecessary because when they got into the apartment, it was dark and Detweiler wouldn't have been able to see their faces. He was also apparently afraid of Calavarese.
I don't know what happened. It gets all confusing. Every time I listen to this guy, this shit gets confusing.
Calavarese said that he and Bootlin had been drinking and Bootlin smoked some marijuana. Bootlin told him about meeting David Lutz and they decided to rob his apartment. They went over to the apartment and kicked in the door. Detweiler was asleep on the couch and he rushed to the door. Once they were inside the apartment, Calavarese pushed Detweiler to the floor and Bootlin repeatedly kicked him in the head. Calavarese testified that he went into the kitchen and grabbed a 10-inch butcher knife. He then got on top of Detweiler. Calabrese said he asked Bootland if he should cut his throat or cut his head off. Bootland said, "Go ahead." Detweiler tried to grab the knife, but Bootland stepped on his arm. Calabrese said he started sawing Detweiler's neck and then twisted the head off.
Ooh.
Afterward, he wrote LSD on one of the walls because it was his favorite drug.
Yuck.
He clarified that he wasn't high that night, and he was only drunk. Calabrese testified that he wrote "redum" as a short form for the words "real dumb." Calabrese admitted that he knew that there was something wrong with him because, as he testified, you just don't go around cutting people's heads off for nothing. Bootland's trial lasted for a week, and the jury deliberated for 3.5 hours. He was found guilty, and he was given an automatic life sentence without the chance of parole. In July 2015, John Calabrese died at the age of 50 in prison from natural causes.
Yeah, I'd like to know what they were. Multiply anally raped.
The Supreme Court
Natural
ruled
causes.
that automatic life sentences without the chance of parole for juveniles was cruel and unusual punishment. Therefore, they were unconstitutional. In 2016, the Supreme Court made the decision retroactive. So in October 2017, 30 years after he was convicted, Michael Bootland was given a new sentence. He was sentenced to 40 years to life. He'll be able to apply for parole in 2027 when he's 56 years old. Currently, Michael Bootland is serving a sentence at SCI Smithfield in Huntingdon, Pennsylvania.
God, that guy was fucking creepy. I gotta show you this. Oh,
Number 1, years old. Currently, Michael Bootland.
well, I guess he wasn't that creepy, but he does look kind of creepy. Just I don't know, it's hard to hold my phone without shaking because I've been drinking coffee and sodas all day long. All right, what else is on? Actors who were brutally murdered? I guess I'll listen to that.
Today's video is sponsored by Babbel, the #1 language learning app in the world. You'll also be supporting criminal listing in the process. Number 3, Danny Loughlin. Joseph and Jean Loughlin were married on Halloween in 1937 in Nashua, Iowa. Shortly after they were wed,
Hold
for a limited time, Babbel is offering criminal list viewers 50% off a 6-month subscription. Just click on the link in the description box below this video.
Click on the link. He sounds like a junkie.
Download Babbel today so you can start learning a new language.
He sounds better on the commercials, but as soon as he narrates the fucking stories, he sounds like a heroin junkie.
Joseph and Jean Loughlin were married
Heroin
on
junkie.
Halloween in 1937 in Nashua, Iowa. Shortly after they were wed, they moved to Honolulu, Hawaii, because Joseph had gotten a job running a pineapple plantation for Dole.
For sure, for
Jean had been a
sure.
professional dancer who had performed in New York City at the tail end of the vaudeville era. Jean gave birth to a son named Daniel on July 13th, 1943. Daniel, who everyone called Danny, would be their only child. In 1946, the family moved to Platteville, Nebraska, before settling in Omaha, Nebraska. In Omaha, Jean opened a dance studio. From a young age, Danny danced, sang, and acted. He became a professional performer when he was just 8 years old. Danny and another boy his age, Neil Reynolds, performed together under the name The Two Checkers. They performed comedy routines, did impressions, sang, and danced. The Two Checkers performed together for several years. In 1959, when Daniel was 16, his family moved to Anaheim, California to help further his entertainment career. After moving to Anaheim, Danny got some small, uncredited roles in movies like Gypsy, starring Rosalind Russell and Natalie Wood, and The Stripper, starring Joanne Woodward. He also landed a small part in the TV show My Three Sons. Danny also auditioned for the role of Rolf in The Sound of Music. He was seriously considered, but he ultimately did not get the part. After Danny graduated from high school, he moved to New York City to try his hand at stage acting. He landed supporting roles in several plays, including Gypsy and The Sound of Music. In 1966, he was cast as Barnaby Tucker in Hello, Dolly. In 1968, the musical was made into a movie starring Barbra Streisand.
I hate her.
Danny was cast in the role of Barnaby Tucker. After the movie was released in December 1969, Danny continued to portray the role of Barnaby on Broadway. He did this role for about a year. Danny's portrayal of Barnaby on both stage and screen was the peak of his career. When Danny was 28, he moved back to Anaheim, where he taught dance at his mother's dance studio. The studio closed in early 1977, so Danny started teaching at another studio. On Friday, August 20th, 1977, Danny competed on NBC's The Gong Show. He and his partner did a song and dance routine.
And remember, Chuck Barris was he worked for like the CIA. Chuck Barris for The Gong Show was a CIA agent.
They ended up tying for first place. The next night, Saturday, August 21st, Danny went to a gay bar in Garden Grove, California.
Oh, more gays?
Danny had been married to a woman, but they divorced after 2 years.
See, all you have to do is tell a couple Hollywood stories, and you're talking about gays the entire fucking time. That's how bad it is. Jesus Christ.
He was never really open about his sexuality, but it's believed he was bisexual.
Of course he's bisexual. Look at him.
At the time,
Fucking
Danny
faggot.
lived with his mother. His father had passed away over 16 years earlier.
Oh, good for him. He can come out of the closet now.
But his mother wasn't worried because sometimes he stayed out all night. After all, he was a 34-year-old man. But when he didn't come home on Sunday night, she became worried and she called the police. It turned out that on Saturday night, Danny went to the apartment of 34-year-old Charles Hopkins. Hopkins had worked as a medical clerk, but at that time, he was unemployed. On that Sunday afternoon, Hopkins called the police and told them that there was a dead body in his apartment. The police arrived and they found the dead body of a man who had suffered nearly 100 stab wounds.
Damn.
The body
got
had also
stabbed.
been mutilated after death. The man had no identification on him. 2 days later, the body was identified as 34-year-old Daniel Locken. The police discovered his identity after they ran his fingerprints through the system. Danny had previously been arrested for driving under the influence, and that's when the police got his fingerprints.
He got previously arrested also for fucking having too much fucking homemade KY in jugs in his trunk. Just kidding.
Charles Hopkins had an unusual explanation for what happened on the night Danny died. Hopkins admitted that Danny came back to his apartment after the bar. At the apartment, they had a drink together. Hopkins said he wasn't attracted to Danny and decided not to pursue any sexual relations. He said that Danny asked him for some money, but he didn't give him any. Danny then left the apartment. Hopkins said that after Danny left, he went to bed. He claimed he woke up a short time later, and as he was walking out of his bedroom, he was hit on the head. Hopkins claimed he lost consciousness and woke up several hours later. When he regained consciousness, he found Danny's dead body in the bathroom. Hopkins said he moved the body into the living room and then cleaned up the washroom. Afterward, he cleaned up the living room. He then went swimming and got his clothes ready for the next day. It was only after he did all those activities that he called the police. Hopkins was asked how Danny ended up being stabbed 100 times in his apartment. Hopkins said he wasn't sure, but he
The guy looks like a total fucking homo, but anyway.
had two theories.
He is a homo.
He thought it was possible that Danny broke in his apartment. Hopkins said he
Kinda
wasn't
looks
sure,
retarded
but he had
too,
two
though.
theories. He thought it was possible that Danny broke in and hit him on the head. Hopkins said that after he was hit on the head, his body might have gone into autopilot and he defended himself. But he doubted that theory himself. He said a more likely scenario was that Danny had an accomplice with him when he broke into his apartment, and the accomplice killed Danny after he lost consciousness. The police searched Hopkins' apartment and they found a book. It was full of violent pornography that featured pictures of men being tortured. Charles Hopkins' trial
See, that's what gays do.
but had to be delayed because his lawyer suffered a leg injury. His trial resumed in late July 1978. Hopkins was ultimately found guilty of voluntary manslaughter, and he was sentenced to 4 years of prison.
Cheers, whoever's up in my
He
live.
would have only had to serve 2 years.
I'm just laying down on this
After Charles
makeshift
Hopkins
bed.
served his sentence, he stayed out of the public eye. He supposedly died in 2006 from natural causes. Number 2, Rebecca Schaefer.
Hey, Bubba.
Rebecca Schaefer was born in Eugene,
Are you awake,
Oregon,
Bubba? Are you
November
not sleepy?
1967.
All right.
Not long after she was born, her family moved to Portland, Oregon.
Sorry, boo.
Her father was a child
Just wanna make
psychologist,
sure you're
and her
all right.
mother was a writer and college instructor. When Rebecca was young, she wanted to be a rabbi when she grew up.
Oh, rabbi. Sounds
But by the time she got into her teens,
boring.
she found herself interested in a much different career, modeling.
Okay, that's better.
In 1984, when Schaefer was 17 years old, she moved to New York City alone to pursue her modeling career. In New York, she got work as an actress, appearing in the soap opera Guiding Light in
I
a small
remember her, I
uncredited
think.
role.
I think
Schaefer
that
struggled to get work as a model because she was only 5'7", and models are usually taller. But she continued to find acting work.
Oh, hell yeah, she's pretty.
In 1985, she had a small, ongoing role on the soap opera One Life to Live. She also got a small role in the movie Radio Days, which was written and directed by Woody Allen. While these roles were small, they did help her land one of the lead roles on the CBS sitcom My Sister Sam.
Never heard
The
of
show
it.
is about a woman named Sam, played by Pam Dauber, who lives in San Francisco, California, and works as a photographer. One day, her 16-year-old sister, Patty, which was Schaefer's role, shows up and lives with her. The show debuted in October 1986, and it was a moderate hit. One person who watched the show was 16-year-old Robert John Bardo, who lived in Tucson, Arizona. Bardo was the youngest of 7 children, and he was considered a loner. Bardo's family was highly dysfunctional. Bardo later claimed that one of his brothers physically and emotionally abused him. When Bardo was pissed. In November 1982, Samantha wrote to Yuri Andropov, the new leader of the Soviet Union.
Oh, who's this little kid girl?
She congratulated him on being the leader and encouraged him to be peaceful with the United States. Andropov was touched by Samantha's letter, so he wrote a letter back. In the letter, he invited Samantha to visit the Soviet Union.
Oh, don't do it. Don't do it.
The correspondence between the 10-year-old American girl and the leader of the Soviet Union was big news in both countries. Samantha traveled to the Soviet Union in July 1983. Sadly, Samantha was killed in a plane crash in August 1985 when she was 13.
Damn.
When Bardo was 13 and became obsessed with Samantha, she was 11. He wrote a letter to her, and she wrote back. 13-year-old Bardo ended up stealing money from his mother and getting on a bus to Maine to go look for Samantha.
Crazy.
He was found by juvenile authorities before he could contact Samantha.
Well, at least he was a juvenile too, right?
Yeah, I've never met before.
I met Scott and Matt Bragg. He caught himself being
Skip ad.
After Bardo was in custody, he stabbed himself with a pen.
Whoa, did he do damage?
Back at school, Bardo's teachers noted that he was a disturbed young man.
Like me.
He wrote letters to a teacher, and
I was
sometimes he wrote
disturbed,
multiple letters.
but not like him.
The letters clearly show that Bardo was detached from reality. He often wrote about death. This included his own death from suicide and murdering the teacher.
Whoa.
He would sign off the letters with the names of fictional characters like Dirty Harry Callahan and James Bond. His teachers told his parents he should get psychiatric help. Bardo went to counseling for about a week, and then his parents put a stop to it. In the summer of 1985,
Looked
when
like a
Bardo
girl
was 15,
sitting there.
he was hospitalized because of his psychiatric problems. His parents pulled him out of the hospital after a month. That autumn, despite getting straight A's, Bardo dropped out of school. He then became a janitor at a fast food restaurant. By the time Robert John Bardo was 16, he had not had a girlfriend or even gone on a date. When he saw Rebecca Schaefer on My Sister Sam, he was immediately enamored with her because he thought she was pure and innocent. He ended up writing several letters to Schaefer. She responded to one and wrote that she appreciated his letter because it was nice and it seemed real. She signed off, "Love, Rebecca." She also sent him an autographed photo. After receiving the letter and the photo, Bardo felt that he and Schaefer were connected.
What a psych.
Bardo traveled to Los Angeles twice and went to the Warner Brothers studio lot where My Sister Sam was being shot. Both times he was turned away by security and he returned to Tucson. My Sister Sam ended up being renewed for a second season. But due to low ratings, in April 1988, halfway through the second season.
I didn't ever hear about it. The fucking show.
When the show went off the air, Bardo's obsession with Schaefer seemed to weaken. Instead, he became obsessed with pop singers Tiffany and Debbie Gibson. After My Sister Sam, Schaefer got a small role in the movie Scenes from the Class Struggle in Beverly Hills. It was released in July 1989. One person who saw the movie
I remember this
John
guy.
Bardo.
I remember
Bardo was mortified by Schaefer's role in the movie. She appeared in a love scene, and this shattered the illusion that Bardo had about her, that she was pure and innocent. He decided to kill Schaefer, and he made plans to murder her. He also started sending her dark and threatening letters.
What a psycho.
Bardo also wrote letters to Mark David Chapman, who was in prison for shooting John Lennon to death in December 1980. Chapman wrote 2 letters to Bardo, but then he stopped corresponding because he thought Bardo's letters were disturbing. Bardo also started researching a man named Arthur Jackson. Jackson had lived in Aberdeen, Scotland. He became obsessed with an actress named Teresa Saldana.
God damn, man. All these people get obsessed.
And Raging Bull. Jackson came up with an elaborate plan on how to find out where Saldana lived. He hired a private investigator who found out Saldana's mother's phone number. Jackson then called Saldana's mother, and he said he was the assistant to director Martin Scorsese, and he asked for her daughter's address so he could send her a script. Saldana's mother really gave the address to Jackson. Jackson traveled from Aberdeen to Los Angeles.
In a goddamn jet.
He attacked Saldana with a knife in front of her home. A delivery man stopped the attack.
Oh, nice delivery man.
Saldana suffered 10 stab wounds.
Oh, shit.
She spent 4 months in the hospital, but ultimately she survived.
Damn.
Jackson was sentenced to 12 years of prison for attempted murder. His sentence was later reduced to 6 years for good behavior. But then, just before Jackson was about to be paroled in 1990, it was revealed that while he was in prison, he sent threatening letters to Saldana and the delivery man who rescued her. For sending the threatening letters, Jackson was sentenced to another 5 years and 8 months in prison.
Look at that ugly mug.
He was released from prison in 1996, but he was immediately extradited to England. It turned out that in 1967...
Give me a like, whoever you are. Jesus Christ.
During the robbery, he shot and killed 33-year-old Anthony Fletcher. In January 1997, Jackson pleaded guilty to manslaughter, and he was sent to a psychiatric hospital. Arthur Jackson died in the psychiatric hospital in 2004 at the age of 68. Robert John Bardo was inspired by how Jackson figured out where Teresa Saldana lived. Bardo ended up paying a private detective $250 to find out Rebecca Schaefer's home address.
Yeah, I have to pay
He told
something.
the private detective that Schaefer was his long-lost friend.
I have to pay something to my lawyer, too.
On July 17, 1989, 19-year-old Robert John Bardo traveled from Tucson to Los Angeles.
Sorry, I get a kick out of these fucking weirdos, even though it's past tense, so.
Apartment building. He pressed the buzzer to her apartment. Schaefer's intercom was broken, so she came downstairs. Later that same day, Schaefer was supposed to meet with director Francis Ford Coppola to read for a part in The Godfather Part 3. She was expecting a script that was supposed to be delivered that morning. Instead, when she got downstairs, she found Bardo, who was a stranger to her. Bardo told Schaefer he was her biggest fan. He also showed her the letter and the autographed picture she had sent him. Schaefer told Bardo to leave and not to come back to her home. They shook hands and Bardo walked away. He went to a diner where he had breakfast. Rebecca went back to her apartment and started getting ready for her meeting with Coppola. Bardo returned to Schaefer's apartment at 10:15 a.m. Once again, he pressed her buzzer and Schaefer came downstairs.
That fucking creep.
Then, 19-year-old
I
Robert
don't use creep as a terminology often, but that guy's a creep.
Point blank in the chest with a .357 Magnum. Bardo watched Rebecca as she laid on the ground, bleeding from the
What an
gunshot.
asshole.
Rebecca said, "Why? Why?" A neighbor who heard a gunshot came out of their apartment. They saw Rebecca on the ground and Bardo standing over her.
What a jack off.
Bardo then took off running.
I would have, if I saw that
he
shit,
threw
I'd
away a
fucking
book
have
he was
killed his
carrying.
ass. Just
It was
because I
Scheduled to
could.
Ride by J.D. Salinger. It was the same book that Mark David Chapman was carrying when he killed John Lennon.
What a fucking
Schaefer was
copycat
rushed to the
faggot.
hospital. About half an hour after arriving at the hospital, Schaefer was pronounced dead. After murdering the 21-year-old actress, Bardo took a bus back to Tucson. The next day, Bardo was arrested as he was wandering around an interstate in Tucson. It appeared that he was trying to get hit by a car. Once Bardo was in custody, he confessed to the murder of Rebecca Schaefer. Bardo went to trial in September 1991. He pleaded not guilty by reason of insanity. His trial lasted for 5 weeks. He was found guilty of first-degree murder. He was sentenced to life without the chance of parole.
Every time I look at him, he
This
looks so
video,
fucked
Robert John
up.
Barno is incarcerated at the Avenel State Prison in Avenel, California. The murder of Rebecca Schaefer led to stricter stalking laws and privacy laws.
All right, we're done, guys. I just want to do a little live stream and stuff, and I just, whoever try to fucking come in here and watch, whatever. Give me a like, man. Don't act like you fucking can't speak English. Give me a fucking like, all right? Jesus fucking Christ. Give me a fucking like, bitch. All right, so I'm gonna fucking have to myself a fucking like, because you fucking asshole won't give me a like. What's wrong with my phone here? Fucking asshole. Won't give me a fucking like, bitch. Fuck you. Won't give me a fucking like, bitch. Fuck you. Won't give me a fucking like, bitch. Fuck you. Shit. Negro, what the fuck is your problem? You want to bash your fucking head in? Your fucking head in? Your fucking head in? You heard me, man. Give me a like or shut your fucking mouth, you faggot. You know? Look, it's 11:11, bitch. Fucking 11:11, motherfucker. You know, when I'm fucking saying shit, you better listen, motherfucker. Give me a like or eat shit and die. I'll keep it, fuck fucking assholes. Fucking fuck your mother. Yeah, well, if I earned a dislike, it's because you're a prick. So eat shit and die. All right?